Tonight we dig deeper into the life of the prime suspect in the gunning down of 2 police officers in Bujumbura. As it emerges, he was known to the police and had a history of brandishing and threatening residents with his gun.
The man really disturbs us. He was reported some time ago to the Dansoman police station. This is a common practice with him. Threats and guns are common traits when he's around.
Plus calls tonight for the Interior Ministry to withdraw its directive to arm police officers on traffic duty.
Expanding the number of officers who are armed will be a recipe for more chaos.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
The Top Story is always brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success, our passion. Also by Gas and Cement, the Nation Builder, and Vodafone. The future is exciting. Ready. It is emerging tonight that the prime suspect in the killing of 2 police officers in Bujumbura was known to the police and had a history of brandishing and threatening residents with his gun. Eric Kojojua was today charged with murder. 6 others have also been charged with conspiracy and abetment to commit murder. Now, you may well know by now that the Interior Ministry has, in the wake of the killings, changed the long-standing police policy not to arm officers on traffic duty. The 2 officers killed by the prime suspect were on traffic duty, and in reaction to this, the ministry announced last week a directive to arm all traffic officers. Well, there is opposition tonight to that directive. More on all that shortly, but first, my colleague Maxwell Agbagba is just returning from the residence of the prime suspect and joins me in the studio. Baso, you've been speaking to those who know the gentleman in question who's been charged and currently before court. You've been to his house. You've spoken to police officers who are investigating this. What are we learning?
For residents that we spoke to at Gomua Bujumbura, they have been telling us, some of them that we spoke to have been corroborating the information going around that the suspect, Eric Ojudia, has been brandishing, his gun in his community. Some of the people that I spoke to told me that he loves his gun. Basically, that was the statement they put out there when we asked them about who Eric Ojudia is. One of the people that I've been interacting with at Dansoman Kipfit Down also confirmed this assertion and has been talking about how they had some land disagreements with the suspect, Eric Ojudia, and he came to their land, brandished the weapon, and then fired some warning shots on their land. We can hear some of the residents at Dansoman Kipfit Down, where her mother's church is located.
Or they not solely about this year. So you approach one of the nation, and then my mini compound, parking, a verse in the castle. And you know, or per se or GA, a Canadian now or parking cars. And I did as a new port. And no more can see it, my ministry, yes, I'm not near Becca. The bear and I can't send you.
There was contention over a piece of land between his mother and us. An out-of-court settlement was requested by his mother's church, where she was a prophetess. But they did not stick to their part of the deal. After his mom's death, he came around to threaten people working on the land. He threatened to beat up my brother, who was the foreman at the site. In fact, he fired warning shots and threatened my brother. The case was reported at the Dansoman police station, but nothing came out of it. We are not surprised about news of him killing the police officer.
Because I can't me brass or bonito.
Oh, boy, obey me harding parents. Last time, club by a clan, it was site and so on, more but 2 or no. A man climbing come catching some mass, I'm to 2 or has sir. And I know almost I was as to do, and so the same thing about one.
The man really disturbs us. He was reported some time ago to the Dansoman police station for illegally shooting someone. However, the case was dismissed on grounds of a witness providing contrary state. This is a common practice with him. Threats and guns are common traits when he's around. I really know him. He hardly forgives when provoked.
If you need to say, "Come no, the coy," but on the urban or the moot in the bay, Tablania, Jumano, assassinate what the man and I down. The boy needed me himself last time with the 2 hour hand, my catch it, say, and judgment, your book will be assassin. Boy needed.
So some residents are talking about the prime suspect, and this is in Dansoman, correct?
This is where
the families, the mother's church.
Exactly. So this is where the mother's church, Strong Living Fire Ministries, is located at Dansoman. Keep it down. The two people you heard, the woman who spoke first says she has a land and an adjoining property with the church, and there's talk that the church wanted to expand their car park, the parking lot. So they wanted to use part of her land as the parking space, but there are disagreements over that land now. So her brother was on the land developing it with some others when they were accosted by the prime suspect. According to her, she says the prime suspect actually fired some warning shots in her presence. Now this gentleman that we heard, the man that we heard talking, he's a mason of a sort. He's a mason, and he says they were working on a building at Dansoman Cape Fit Down when the prime suspect visited the area where they were working, and then brandished his gun and then fired in the air. They reported the matter because there were some disagreements as well. They reported the matter to the Dansoman police, according to him, but they've not had any response yet.
So this is Dansoman, and we'll talk more about his affinity to the church, the mother's church, very shortly, and what they themselves say about him.
Exactly,
it's in sharp contrast to what the residents have said. But you also in where he lives. He lives in Bujumbura. But he goes to church in Dansoman.
Exactly.
You've been to his house in Bujumbura. What did we find there?
Well, his house is just about 5 minutes away from the main Kaswa-Winneba highway. It's in one of the alleyways in that community. He lives in a one-story building which is painted green with others on the compound. But what we realized was that his door. The door to his apartment was actually locked with 2 padlocks, and we got information. We have information from our sources that after the incident happened, his wife, who was living there together with his children, actually left, but they were later arrested at a place in Teshi by the Criminal Investigations Department to also help them basically unravel the circumstances around this case. So when we got to his house, the doors, the main gates to his apartment was actually locked with 2 padlocks, with no sign of anyone in there. Some of his co-tenants we interacted with told us that they've been seeing him around.
Is this property his?
Okay, so the information that we have from deep throat sources within the Ghana Police Service is that the property belongs to his mother. But his mother died in the year 2017. After her death, he got access to the documents to this. Exactly. So he's now more or less like the owner of this property. And we are told by our source within the Ghana Police Service that he's actually used the documents covering this property, this one-story building. He has actually used that document as surety to secure bail for one of his friends who was arrested by the Kaswa Divisional, Command. So
the police, he's known to the police.
He's known to the police. In fact, on that compound when we visited,
in the house he owns, or bequeathed to him by the mother.
Exactly. We saw a police uniform hanging on the dry line, and in fact, when we asked, we were told that 2 police officers live in that house.
So he has tenants who are police officers. Who live with him in his house.
So this, what we got, the impression that we got was that this is someone who has a lot of interaction with police officers, has a lot of interface with them, and a lot of connections with police officers.
If you speak to the residents, though, those who live in this neighborhood with him, they seem to have a very favored view of him.
Exactly.
They don't know him as somebody who who allegedly could have the potential, because nothing is proven yet, potential to commit the crimes he is alleged of committing, and has been charged with murder for.
Yes, they describe him as a good man. Well, some of the people that I interacted with told me that there are times that he has paid school fees for people who are unable to pay, their fees, and many of them were shying away from giving us an interview. But a woman who spoke to us, who is a neighbor actually to the prime suspect, says she doesn't know much, of him. We can hear.
Na debia otwem miminim ne nepa ban only say debia ya me hunu say otwem okoba. Yeah.
Well, she says she always sees him around going about his normal duties in his car. He normally would pass in front of her house.
Yeah.
Just because he's always in his car, she's never interacted with him before. If he's going out, only one Nigerian man has a day.
Oh, say can e twem to me to me stadium who say na yere ne ma etika nem, but we mo aya ne ma ne bit me be di agro omo ne me ma no nyina bebo mu di agro e wo fie ha.
She says sometimes the suspect's children sometimes come here to come and play with her children. She says because they usually pass by in front of her house in a vehicle. She's never had interactions with them before, but the children usually come here and come and play with her children. Maybe you know about. She says the prime suspect has 2 children. Yeah, they are males, they are boys.
And so that's a resident there in his home, close to his home in Bujumbura, talking about what they knew of him. Maxwell, you've also been to this the church,
yes,
where owned by the mother, in fact, founded by the mother. On the premises of the church, the mother's tomb is there.
Yeah.
On the premise of the church. What you found is fascinating. Just listen to this.
It is Sunday morning at a Strong Living Fire Ministry International. One of the pastors here is leading the congregation to pray. Some of the members tell me conspicuously missing at church is Eric Kojoduya, the prime suspect involved in the shooting of 2 policemen at Gumwa Budumbram in the central region. Mother of the suspect, Elizabeth Boatin of blessed memory, is the founder of the church. She has been buried in a corner on the church premises. Church service just ended here at a Strong Living Fire Ministry International. Well, a lot of the prayers here have focused on how the church can grow beyond what is happening to it now. I've been speaking to the administrator of the church, Stella Brown, who says the church is shocked by the incident that happened sometime last week.
I don't know which words to use to describe our late mother. And as you can see, all the guys in this church are on fire for Christ. Because knowing Mama Lizzie, you can't sit there and do something that is contrary to what the Bible teaches. And she's a mother. And I know for sure that even if Eric was misbehaving at home or saying, he won't spare, he's grown. So I can't say the rod, but he will talk about it.
She says the leadership of the church is still shocked by the incident and are still discussing how to extend help to the suspect.
I'm very sad about the situation. It's so heavy. Our hearts are heavy, as you can see when you came to fellowship with us. There's no joy in the house, although as a church we should be joyful and all that. It has really weighed us down. So as leadership, we are going to meet and discuss how best the church can also help him. Since the mother was the founder of this church, we cannot leave him like that. We can help him, whether to get a lawyer for him to talk to him and tell us exactly what happened. Because right now we don't even know where he is. We can't tell where he is, and nobody is telling. We were surprised because he came to church on Sunday. Yeah. He was here till we closed around this time. He picked even some of the elders with the car, and they went. So we didn't see anything, unusual about him for us to believe that he can do that.
And Maxwell, you also found, and part of this was confirmed in this report.
Yes.
That apparently the mother is a disciplinarian, a very strict one. Will not take nonsense from the child.
As rightly so, as we heard from the administrator of the church, Stella Brown. In fact, we've been digging and we found the brochure that was used during the prime suspect's mother's funeral, Reverend Elizabeth Boateng, in the year 2017. And in fact, we found the tribute that he read. Yes, that he read. Eric Gia, the prime suspect, actually read. Let me quote portions of it for you. A woman, okay, so this Eric Gia speaking, quote, "A woman of principle was my mother, and no nonsense person, a disciplinarian, but above all, she would show you much love. She impacted many and would teach you what would take you closer to the Lord. Mommy took care of my every need and always encouraged me to be kind and God-fearing," unquote. And there's a picture of Eric Gia here together with his mom. And in fact, he's a spitting image of his mother.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, tonight he's been charged with murder, and 6 others have also been charged with abetment and conspiracy to commit murder. Joseph Akable has that angle of the story for us. Which court was this? Were they arraigned with their police taking?
So this is the Kaneshie District Magistrate Court. Because of the nature of the crime, they have to go through the committal, and it starts at that level. So there are 7 individuals. The charges against them, first, Eric Kojobia was charged with murder. The others had to do with abetment to commit murder and conspiracy to commit murder. By way of names, the others are Isaac Emisa, there's Ibrahim Zakaria, there's Isaac Mensah, Oblete Komi, Victor Yere, and Fatau Ahmed. So those are the 7 individuals who were put before the court. Their plea was not taken, and then again, the state prosecutors, the gentleman leading the prosecution, ASP Sylvester Sari, informed the court that investigations were still at the initial stages. In fact, they had just arrested the prime suspect on Saturday, and so they needed some more time. And so he asked that they be remanded into prison custody, but they had some preferences because they wanted them to be close to the police administration and the police CID, for that matter, that is investigating this matter. And so instead of taking them to Nsaum, where they said it will prove difficult, which investigators would have to travel if they have to have access to them, and even in terms of traveling, they may not have access to them at certain times. And so they asked that the first 3 individuals be kept at the BNI headquarters, while the remaining 4 be kept at the Osu police station. And so that is what happened.
Okay, when are they returning?
At 26th September.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, Joseph. And also tonight we're hearing from the Bureau of Public Safety, who are now demanding withdrawal of the directive from the Interior Ministry on the wake of the shooting of these 2 police officers who were on traffic duty. That police officers henceforth on traffic duty will all be armed and also giving bulletproof vests. Well, the Bureau of Public Safety is asking the Interior Ministry to withdraw that directive. In fact, we're also hearing tonight from the National Peace Council. They are also raising concerns about that directive and asking the police hierarchy and the Interior Ministry as well to first invest in training of the officers before they go ahead to arm them on our streets. Listen to Nanaya Akwada, who heads the Bureau of Public Safety.
No, when we say that we are not ready for that, we are basing it on previous empirical evidence that we are all witnesses to. We have seen the police service largely discharge itself appropriately, but a section of the police service, and most of the time engaging with citizens or suspects, have not been able to demonstrate soft skills that are crucial to maintaining the peace and deepening the trust and enhancing the relationship between citizens and the police. I cite a classic example of Manson Kwanta, where the police opened fire on 7 people and literally killed them. I also want to present the trotro driver and his mate incident that occurred in Accra. There are many other incidents that goes to demonstrate how the police, when it is most crucial, fail to demonstrate calmness. They fail to demonstrate a high sense of de-escalating capability. On the back of this, we think that arming the police or expanding the number of officers who are armed will be a recipe for more chaos. So we believe that before this is done, the police must be equipped, but they must be equipped with soft skills.
So that is the head of the Bureau of Public Safety. Also tonight, the chairman of the National Peace Council, Reverend Professor Sante, has also been raising concerns about that directive, asking the Interior Ministry and the authorities within the service to first invest in some proper training.
I think the most important thing is not simply protecting the police, but I would think that the police should be whatever the authorities think will be good for this nation, they should do it. But then people should be trained. You know, somebody said something today which I agree with. For some of them, for over years, they have not even handled weapons. So if they're going to be given weapons, then they need training in respect of how to use weapons. That's all I would say. I think it's not just the guns, but they should also be given bulletproof vests and other things and other gadgets that will enable them to do their work well. We should be mindful of the things that we say when things happen. I have heard a lot of people discussing security issues in this country, and they do so with utmost, as if nothing is at stake. There are certain things you don't go in public and talk about. Security matters. You have to be circumspect when you are discussing security matters, because as you do so, you also give information to those nation wreckers. So we should use our media houses to promote those things that will ensure the peace of the nation.
And we're going to get an update from the police shortly on the status of rolling out that directive, which was issued just last week, that traffic officers should be carrying arms now. But let's bring in a man who understands these matters, Mr. Adam Bonazi. He's the chief executive of the Security Warehouse Limited. Mr. Bonazi, what do you make of the call tonight, particularly from the Bureau of Public Safety, for that particular directive to be withdrawn? The Peace Council also has concerns there. They want training done first.
Well, yes, good evening to your listeners, Evans. For me, I think that if the directive has to do with lethal weapons, then I fully support that call. I have made it specifically clear that most of our police officers lack training. I mean, what is required of them to be able to protect themselves, first of all, before protecting us. They don't have them. And so for me, let's wait and see. In the next, within this week, we are hoping that the Police Management Board would have to come and explain to us. If you say arm, you could arm somebody with a water gun. So let us know. Do you mean lethal weapons? Bullets that can kill? Or you are talking about tasers, pepper sprays? So for me, I think that if they have to arm them at all, they should be arming them with tasers and pepper sprays and all that. You are going to give a police officer who is standing in the hot sun, sweating, an AK-47 or a sidearm. And you can imagine the chaos we are going to see, shootings here and there. Some of the things some of us have been requesting for over the years have not been put in place. We need an independent police public complaints commission authority, so that you see, if I feel offended or violated by a police officer, where do I go to? Do I go to the PIPs, which has outlived its usefulness, or where do I go to? Do I go to Shraj? Where do I go to? But the independent police complaint commission would have made it easy for the citizens when anytime they feel.
So fundamentally, you're also opposed to traffic officers being given lethal weapon, as in guns.
Yes, they shouldn't be given lethal weapons, but if they could be armed with pepper sprays. So probably.
But you raised that point. But remember that the Interior Minister's directive was a direct reaction to what happened in Bujumbura, where the officers who were totally unarmed came up against a man who was wielding a gun. I mean, if that is a scenario that the Interior Minister is trying to address, pepper spray and tasers will simply not cut it.
Well, if you look at the incident that took place, you would realize that if those police officers, unfortunately, they've lost their lives. So if probably they had followed, the protocols, due diligence, this wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't want to go into it since the case is in court now. But mine is that as for weapons, the Interior Minister's directive was we are going to arm police, MTTD officers. And when you say arm, it is vague. So what are you arming them with? Are you talking about lethal weapons?
I mean, the Interior Minister was very clear. He says guns will be provided to every single officers on traffic duty. That's how he was very clear on that. And that even we followed up with a question to him, which is that do you have enough? And he says, well, tactical plans will be put in place to ensure that the arms are provided.
Well, I hope that they will put it, if it has to be done at all, they would have to think through it well. But for now, some of us will not be expecting immediate deployment of weapons, lethal weapons to officers who are not properly trained to man the few good roads we have, and there's chaos everywhere. So for me, Evans, I think that directive is something that should have been done based on research. There is no research to prove that arming them is what will deal with the situation. Since independence, can we prove that MTTD officers or the then MTTU have come under this type of attack? We haven't had that since independence. I don't have that record where police officers were gunned down in this, bravado. I haven't seen it. There's no record to prove. So this is a case, an isolated case, and therefore it needs to be treated as such. And if we have to make any proper any upgrade with regards to the way they handle themselves, I'd rather go for proper training. As we speak, the MTTD don't have one very important thing, which is the MTTD must have a training school. They don't have it. If you go to various developed places, even within Africa, the MTTD is a specialized unit that must have its own training school. They don't have it. So they don't have a training school. You take them to a police depot to train them in a facility that is ill-equipped with, being able to monitor traffic and do what they have to do. Transportation police or transport police is beyond just the controlling traffic. It is now aviation, sea, rail. It is so broad, but we have limited it to controlling truck drivers and rogue drivers in this country. And so for me, I think that let's broaden the conversation and say these people must be told very well, Evans.
I'm grateful that you joined us with your thoughts there. What do you think about this? Should the police officers on traffic duty be given guns whilst they are directing traffic and trying to maintain order on our roads? Send me a WhatsApp 0244340437.